Kathy Oliver. I'm a shepherd. I own a farm with my husband here in Central Virginia called Sweet Tree Hill Farm, and we raise Shetland sheep and Gotland sheep and produce a line of yarn for knitting, crocheting, and all kinds of woolly things. So I thought I would provide some instruction on how to get started knitting. So we're going to start off with casting on, the very beginnings of knitting. And knitting is an excellent way of not only relaxation, but also to produce some beautiful things with wool, such as hats and scarves. And so let's jump in and let's learn how to cast on. Alrighty, so we're ready to begin. So we obviously start off with a ball of yarn. And this is yarn that we produce on our farm. It is a worsted weight or medium weight yarn. It is a good size yarn to start off with. And so when you're looking for your first project yarn, I suggest looking for the word worsted, W-O-R-S-T-E-D. And so basically what knitting is, you're dealing with sticks, your knitting needles, and you're dealing with string, which is your yarn. All right, and so you need to pull out a decent amount here to get started. Now, I do want to show you before we do, just to give you a little inspiration, this is what you can make with this type of yarn. So worsted weight is very handy for knitting fingerless gloves. Alrighty, and then if you notice, these have little embroidered daisies on them. And we're going to learn this project later on as we learn the different aspects of knitting and the different skills, okay? But we're starting at the beginning, and by the way, that's the matching hat, okay? Gives you something to think about. All right, so now back to the task at hand. And so we're going to start off with making a loop. All right, so basically what knitting is you're pulling loops through loops. So we're going to start off with making that first loop that we're going to put on one knitting needle. Now we're only going to need one needle for this process of casting on. So you're not working with two sticks yet. So now what you're going to do to make your first loop is you're going to take the yarn, so give yourself some length to work with, okay, because you're going to need to be casting on some loops. So move it up towards the middle here, give yourself about 10-12 inches. You're going to lay that yarn across with the end pointing up, and then you're going to come down over these two fingers, okay? You're going to come up again and cross, all right? So you've got a little cross. Put your thumb on that to hold it in place. Then you're going to take the loop that's laying on the finger and using your other finger, tuck that crossed piece underneath. All right? So now you've got, let go and gently pull that first loop. All right? That's called a slip loop or a slip knot. And you're just going to cinch it up just a little. We don't want it too tight. You're going to slip your needle into that loop from right to left. Okay? And then you're going to cinch that up a little bit. All right. So now, you have your needle in your right hand. You're going to have your index finger on top of that loop so it doesn't come off as you're working on your other loops. When I teach kids, I tell them this is your policeman. That finger has a job. It's to keep those, protect those loops and keep them from falling off the needle. Okay, so now you've got your two ends. You've got one end connected to your ball of yarn. You've got your other end. That is your loose end, your tail. And this is called a long tail cast on. This is the cast on you will use the most. It is one of many cast ons, however. So if you don't like this cast on, you are certainly free to choose another one that works better for you. All right, but this is the most common. So now you've got these two strands. You're going to take your index finger and your thumb, kind of create it like, backwards L. And you're going to go in the middle of those two, and you're going to use your other fingers to hold down your tails, and you're going to open it up, kind of creating an upside down V, okay? Alrighty, so now we're going to start. Taking that needle with that loop, you're going to bring that V forward, alright? That puts this needle in position to come underneath the loop on the thumb, which it's going to do. It's going to lift up that loop, All right, now it's got to go over to the other loop on the index finger and go on top of that one. And when it does so, you're going to pull it forward. If you notice, the strand is going to come through this loop on the thumb. All right, that thumb's going to let go of its loop and act like it did before and open up your curtains, and that cinches down your second loop on your needle, and you're ready to begin again. Make sure you grab those tails with your other fingers. That's its job. All right, I'm going to kind of move it up a little bit. There you go. You've got your upside down V. Again, you're pulling it forward. You're going under the thumb loop, over the index finger loop, bringing that needle forward, through the thumb loop. The thumb lets go of its loop, opens up your yarn again like it's opening up curtains, and you're ready to go again. Let's watch one more time. Alrighty, so make sure that policeman is doing its job, and you bring your needle forward, under the thumb loop, over the index finger loop, bring that needle forward, through that thumb loop. Thumb lets go of its loop, opens up the curtains again. Now let's see that as you would do it, kind of the speed that you probably would do it. So under the thumb, over the index finger, through that loop, thumb opens up. Under, over, through, thumb opens up. Under, over, through, thumb opens up. Lift up, over the index finger, through, thumb opens up. And there you have it. You've got a series of cast on loops. You just keep casting on until you have the number of loops that you want for your project. A good first project is what's called a garter stitch scarf, where you basically cast on and just keep knitting back and forth. And we're going to learn the knitting stitch in our next video, so stay tuned. Alrighty, so get knitting.